What is up, Mizzou fans? Welcome back to another video here on Show Me Football. I'm your host, Josh Fann, and today I am joined by my co-host, as always, Brayden Dowers, and we're about to preview the top 15 matchup between your Missouri Tigers and the Vanderbilt Commodores. All that and more right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, Missouri Tigers fans, welcome back into another video here on the Show Me Football YouTube show. Before we get into things, I do want to kindly ask everyone watching to please like, share, and subscribe. Some more Mizzou fans can find this, and go ahead and hit that notification bell as well for future Mizzou content. But Brayden, we are here today to break down the biggest game in college football this week. I don't really think it's arguable, between the Missouri Tigers and the Vanderbilt Commodores. Brayden, could you imagine if 5 years ago I told you week 8 of the college football season in 2025, Mizzou and Vandy are top 15 and the biggest matchup in college football? College game day is present for these two teams playing.
If you told me this back in, I know you said 5 years ago, but let's go back to that 2019 game whenever we lost 17-14 at home after getting into the top 25 against Vandy, and Barry Odom lost 17-14 to the Vanderbilt Commodores. If you told me that those two teams would be playing in arguably the biggest, or not really arguably, the biggest matchup in college football this weekend, I would say that you're a liar. I would say you can argue that Ole Miss Oklahoma might be a little bit bigger, but it's definitely the biggest games for both of these programs in a while. I mean, Mizzou had the game versus Bama a few weeks ago, but just the expectations and what this game controls and what it means for these teams, this is not necessarily a play-in for the playoffs because you still got 4 really difficult SEC games after this for both teams, but you are in a significantly better spot for whoever wins this football game.
Yeah, whoever wins this game definitely has the inside track to a college football playoff bid, but you kind of hinted at it already, Brayden. The loser of this game, it's going to be tough because you look at the rest of the schedule, just looking at it from Missouri's perspective, you lose this, you have to run the table with Texas A&M and Oklahoma still on the schedule, which is why, I agree, this is the biggest game, even bigger than Bama, just because of this, what's at stake. Like Bama, you could always afford to lose that game. I'm not really sure you can afford a loss to Vandy in this matchup because Texas A&M, Oklahoma, I don't know if I can pick Mizzou to go 2-0 in those games, especially that Oklahoma game on the road. And we've said it many times on here, but Mississippi State and Arkansas are also no pushovers on the schedule, especially
Arkansas almost beat A&M, but they do that almost every year.
Yeah, and the offense is not a weakness for Arkansas. No. That's been established already this year. But just focusing on this Vanderbilt matchup, it's absolutely huge. I want to start by asking you this, and I actually kind of asked you this in the Auburn breakdown after that game, but for those that maybe didn't see that or just tuning in for the preview for this one, do you think that there's a little bit of worry on the Vanderbilt side that this game is becoming a little too big for them and there's a little too much spotlight on them and maybe even a potential hangover from the LSU win? Obviously, that was really big for them, beating the name across the chest. But game day's there, and Diego Pavia has camera crews following him around all day, every day. Is there any sense at all from you that Vanderbilt might be reading its own press clippings?
They might be getting a little bit too big for their britches right now, but I think Clark Lee is a really good football coach, and he knows how to keep them level-headed. But this is the most love that Vandy has ever gotten. This is the highest point that Vandy has ever been at in their program's history. And that's something that Mizzou can play in its favor. And Eli Drinkwitz is definitely using that right now in his press conferences in the media, saying that we're just the sideshow. We're going to show up in the visitors' locker room. They're not there for us. They're there for Vandy. Why do we care? We're the bad guys. We're the enemy right now. Nobody cares about us. They care about Vandy. The spotlight's on them. And Drink is very much trying to keep the spotlight off of them by making comments like that. And preaching to his players and preaching to Mizzou fans that this is business as usual for us. This is a game that you go into and you play it. Like, you're not worrying about college game day. Whereas Vandy fans, all of their fans are worrying about going and practicing kicks for the kicking contest for Pat McAfee. Yeah. And Vandy deserves that. Vandy 1,000,000% deserves to bask in all their glory for beating LSU and having a phenomenal season so far and having a phenomenal season last year. They 1,000,000% deserve it, but it's the nature of the situation, and Mizzou can definitely use that to their advantage, I think. And I know I was a little doom and gloomy after the Auburn game, and I think
take the gloomy glasses off, dude.
No, but
that's what the fans are saying.
That's what the fans are saying. I will see if I take the gloomy glasses off in this video or not. But I'm worried about this Missouri Tigers team, but that was the ugliest win of the Eli Drinkwitz era. And I said that it was the worst game that I've ever watched, obviously being hyperbolic because there's been plenty more. But that was probably the worst win that I can remember under Eli Drinkwitz. But there's a thing about teams and cultures finding a way to win. Like, you just find a way to win no matter what. And that's what they did.
Yeah. Well, we were discussing it earlier today. Just how, I think you can almost attribute last week's win to the culture that Drinkwitz has built and just finding a way to win games, guys not giving up, and the Zion Young coin toss. Brayden, by the way, did you see Zion Young in that game?
I did.
You see him? Actually, hold on. Let's hear it one more time.
Our defense played their butt off. You see Zion Young?
Do you see Zion Young, Brayden?
I did see Zion Young. Did you see Toriano Pride?
Yeah, I saw Toriano Pride. That's a different story. But we're being positive. Take the gloomy glasses off. We're being positive. This is Missouri Tigers football.
Look, Auburn has been a decent team, even though they're 0-4. And I feel like I'm just coping, but it is true. Auburn has still been a really good team who almost went into Oklahoma and beat them.
Well, did you actually hold on? Let's talk about that for a second. Because did you see they actually officially suspended the ref for the rest of the season from that game?
It was from the Georgia game.
But that's how badly they got screwed.
Yeah.
And they've been getting screwed.
they've continuously got F to the point where SEC refs had to come out and publish a public apology, and then another game the ref got suspended. Like, Auburn has for the rest of the year. Auburn has undoubtedly gotten F'd by the refs this year. So they are a good team who almost beat Georgia, who very easily could have beat Oklahoma, who held an A&M offense which has scored basically 40 points in every game besides the game against them where they held them to 16 at home. Yeah. Like, DJ Durkin and the Auburn defense are phenomenal. And the fact that Mizzou was able to put up 23, and it wasn't really 23 points aided by the defense, kind of like it was against Alabama.
Yeah.
It was 23 legitimate points. I mean, the touchdown in overtime, you're only at the 25, but still. It was a really gutsy performance in Beau's first road start. So I think that just the nature of that game had me really reactionary and really up and tight. And I think rightfully so, because that was just a brutal football game.
No, yeah, it was ugly.
It was ugly football game.
And I don't think anyone's disagreeing with that. But the point I was going to make, just seeing Zion Young at midfield hyped about the coin toss, you were like, I don't know how that's going to play out for him. And then he ended up backing it up. But then
that's something that can motivate him for the rest of the year. Like,
you look back on it and you're like, well, I saw some Auburn fans saying, I wish we had dogs like this on our team after that game. And it's like, yeah, I guess, Mizzou does kind of have that, edge to them that allows them to win these games. And they just, they believe in the fact that they're better than the team they're playing against. And that Drinkwitz talked about that after the Alabama loss, and that's why he was so bummed about it. He said, these guys believe this wasn't a game where it's like we're hoping to keep it close. Like, we came in to win the game. Auburn, it was their first big road test. I thought they responded well to a difficult environment, going up against probably the best front seven they'll see all year.
I mean, Falk's gonna go top 10 in the draft probably.
Yeah, he really stood out. So that look, it was. That's why I was just happy to get out of there with the win. Escape Jordan Hare with the win. That is the goal. That's what they did. Looking at this Vandy matchup, though, I think it's a little bit of a relief because I think offensively, and we can start there, it's going to be an easier matchup for them to prepare for, in my opinion. And yes, it's another one on the road, but you had your first big road test at Jordan Hare. You passed that test.
Even though Vandy's been good, it's not nearly as big of a home field advantage as Auburn is.
And I think there will also be a lot more Mizzou fans making the trip for this game than there was for Auburn. I think there's going to be a lot of Mizzou fans there. And like you said, it's not the same thing as Jordan Hare on the road. And I think when you look at Vandy's defense up front, they're not as good as Auburn is. Their secondary has some leaks. The offense has been down from what they've been the past couple of weeks since they've gotten into conference play. I think there's a lot of guys on this team that are due for another big game. And the one that comes to mind immediately for me, Brayden, is Ahmad Hardy. Because he's kind of been shut down against Alabama and Auburn the last couple of weeks. And it just feels like he's due for a big game. I don't really think Vandy has the guys up front to overwhelm Mizzou at the line of scrimmage the way Auburn did, the way Alabama did. And Alabama didn't even really shut down Hardy. It was just a lack of touches given to him by the coaches. He's a guy that I'm looking at that I think it's time for him to have another big game and really have another coming out party essentially in conference play. Because that's kind of the knock on him at this point is, okay, the competition gets better. You're not putting up the same numbers. I think he's tired of hearing that. But that's just kind of the guy that sticks out in my mind. I don't want to go all over the place yet. I kind of want to get your thoughts first. So, what's kind of your take on that?
I've said it multiple times that Mizzou has the schematical matchup and advantage against this Vandy team throughout multiple different podcasts earlier this season. Like whenever we briefly touch on this game, I've said, I think that Mizzou has the advantage here because I think that we can beat them at the lines. Vandy's offensive line is really good. Their offensive line has been phenomenal. I think a lot of that can also be attributed to Diego Pavia's scrambling ability and ability to escape sacks and extend plays because he just has that magical ability to him. But their offensive line has been really good. I think everybody saw the clip of their left tackle just basically hitting 3 LSU defensive linemen and putting them on the ground in one play. I mean, they put some absolutely beautiful film on display. But, I mean, this Missouri Tigers defensive line does the exact same thing. And like you said, with their defense and Ahmad Hardy, I 1,000,000% agree when you have CBS analysts coming out and saying that, oh, they don't think that Ahmad Hardy can get it. Mizzou's been given a lot of bulletin board material this week with game day being there, with a lot of analysts coming out and being skeptical of Ahmad Hardy and this Missouri Tigers offensive line and them being weak. That's going to be something that motivates Keegan Trost, and that's something that motivates Caden Green and Connor Tollison and Gadice. I mean, there are guys on this offensive line who have been really good this season, and they just haven't shown up as much the last 2 weeks. I mean, but even in the Bama game, I think that we were still able to run the ball pretty effectively because Jamal Roberts had a pretty big run. He was really effective in his limited touches. But it was just the fact that we couldn't get Hardy going in that game that was so frustrating. So I think that it's going to be a return to normalcy. And I think that we are going to see a big game from Ahmad Hardy because, like you said, this Vandy defensive line is not – it's not the same defensive line as Auburn, as Alabama. And I think Hardy's going to be able to get into the second level on it. I think he's going to be able to get into the third level on it and break off some big ones. And like you mentioned, with the secondary being a little bit weaker, they have busted coverages kind of like us where they're susceptible to big plays, and Beau has been able to make a few of them, not every single one that you want him to, but he's been pretty effective in intermediate situations, especially on third down when we need him to be. And he's made plays like whenever we really needed him to make a play on 3rd and 10 against the cover 0 blitz, he fires one into the middle right to Kevin Coleman's chest, and he makes a great play on it. Somebody else that I really want to watch for in this game, Donovan Olubade, has been the best freshman wide receiver arguably in the country. Has been phenomenal. His snap counts increased every single week. It needs to keep increasing because I love Joshua Manning, but Olubade might just be better than him at this point. in his playmaking ability, his ability to go up, bring down contested catches, work in the open field, even as we saw it whenever he had like a 30-yard catch and run just on a slant route. That was like the first normal pass that we saw him catch all season that wasn't a contested ball, where they just gave it to him basically in open space and told him, go make a play, and he gets you down to the 5-yard line. That's what Donovan Olubade can bring to this team, and that he's kind of been Mizzou's secret weapon, and I think that he can be due for a really big game as well. So, like, Mizzou has so many options and abilities on this offense that I think haven't been able to been showcased against one of, if not the best defense in the SEC with Auburn, and one of the best defenses for sure in Alabama. So I'm confident in them because of the schematical matchup and advantage that they have on the offensive side of the football. But there's also just that magic that Vandy has had to them this year that worries you, because they can create a turnover, and Beau's been susceptible to turnovers. So it's going to be a matter of turnovers, and can we establish the run and play our game? Because whoever plays their game, I think, wins this game.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. I want to go back to Beau for a second, because I think a lot of people came out of that Auburn game thinking Beau has just been bad for a second straight week. But then you go back and watch, you consider the fact that the offensive line was not really helping out, the fact that Auburn just spammed cover zero blitzes all night. And then you look at what Beau was able to do, and you're like, actually, he wasn't that bad. And he grew up a little bit, even just in that game, especially in overtime, too. I mean, you mentioned the throw to Kevin Coleman on the gotta have it, third down in overtime.
I mean, you saw his adjustments and his development in the middle of the game.
Yeah. Pressure in his face, gets the first down to Kevin Coleman. The only place that he could get it, he puts the ball, and he sets up his own game-winning touchdown run. That was really good to see. He had a couple other really impressive throws in that game. I thought, they did a nice job getting the ball to their playmakers over the middle of the field. And even the last drive in regulation, like, I thought Beau did some really good things. Ultimately, it didn't end up in a score. Like,
I saw a clip where he had, I think it was Marquise underneath whenever he threw the one-on-one ball that ended up being an interception, and Marquise probably could have ran. It might have been Coleman, though. I forget who it was. But they were wide open underneath the middle. But Beau had a cover zero blitz in his face. Just like
actually, I remember the one you're talking about. Yeah, and that's just kind of the things you learn. You get experience, and you learn from that. And he got a lot of experience going up against a front seven like that and facing a ton of blitzes. I think that'll have him a little bit more prepared for this game. Vanderbilt does like to get creative with their blitzes on defense. They're going to throw some stuff at Beau. And even though me and you both agree that, like, Ahmad Hardy, he's got to get back to having a big game, Vanderbilt's game plan is going to be what everyone else's has been to this point, which is
going to be force Beau to throw.
Yeah, sell out to stop Ahmad Hardy, force Beau to make some plays through the air. And I think I saw enough against Auburn that has me encouraged that he can find his playmakers against the leaky Vandy secondary. You mentioned some of the playmakers, Donovan Olubade, Kevin Coleman, Marquise Johnson. He feels due for a big one. For sure. Not even just a big game, but just a catch or two to set up Mizzou down the field. Kevin Coleman, I think, has been kind of quiet as well, but he was looking to have an all-SEC season.
Really good against Auburn. I think he was our most consistent player.
For sure. He just hasn't put up the numbers as of recently, but I just think this is the type of game you have to get back to. You have to if you're going to beat Vanderbilt.
You have to play your game, because we haven't really played our game since South Carolina.
No, because we're trying to dominate that time of possession. Haven't really done that, and it happened against Alabama, where they actually beat you at your own game. They dominated time of possession. Mizzou was never able to establish anything. They were actually a lot better on third down against Auburn, but they were just kind of some execution things here and there that, turned some red zone trips either into turnovers or only settling for field goals. Otherwise, you probably win that game in regulation, but you got to clean that stuff up so that against Vanderbilt, you can get more points in the red zone. Because I think you got to score probably 27 points to win this game, at least. I think that's what it's going to take to beat Vanderbilt. Because they're going to make plays. Diego Pavia, he's going to get outside the pocket. He's going to make some plays. Vanderbilt's going to put up some points. And although I think the defense was really good against Auburn, Brayden, we still saw some of these same issues in the secondary, some of the busted coverages, guys with their eyes.
But it was really only one guy.
And why don't you talk about it?
I mean, it's been the same
because this is where your glasses start to get a little gloomy.
This is where the glasses start to get a little bit gloomy, Josh, because Toriano Pride has his eyes in the backfield when he's 30 yards down the field, and it's just playing the worst fundamental football that I've genuinely ever seen from a cornerback. That's, again, hyperbolic, but he's not playing good defense. And it felt like a lot of the issues got corrected in the Alabama game. And I think that Diego Pavia is, at least from a play style, pretty similar to Ty Simpson, where he's not really running too much. I mean, he can run and he does run, but he's still looking to throw. He's not looking to take off and run like other quarterbacks may be. So he's looking to extend plays. Diego Pavia and Ty Simpson are really similar quarterbacks. So our defense was able to do really good against Ty Simpson and limit him and make him have his worst game of the season. I mean, because right after the Mizzou game, he had a phenomenal performance against Tennessee's defense. So they were able to lock down Ty Simpson, in my opinion, to the best of their ability. Like, they made
enough to win the game, but the offense didn't show up.
Like, the secondary did enough in that game. The secondary got a little bit lucky in the game against Auburn, because Auburn just had a few too many drops. Jackson Arnold had a few too many bad throws. And you got a little bit lucky, but it felt like every single time those plays were in the direction of Toriano Pride, where they actually did hit a deep ball. It was in his direction, where they could have had a deep ball for a touchdown and make it 14-0 early in the game. And that game could have very easily gotten away from us. It was on Toriano Pride, but then the next play, he makes a pretty decent interception. So it's really just him that I'm concerned about at this point, because Stephen Hall didn't have too many bad plays in that Auburn game. Drayden Norwood, Dalen Carnell, Marvin Burks. Burks had one or two pretty bad plays. James Catalan.
Banner was good, though.
They need to start Banner. I'm sorry. Like, he needs to play more. You got to get your best 5 secondary players on the field. And I think that that's Carnell. I think that that's Norwood, Burks, Banner, and
Hall.
Hall.
In there.
Yeah. That's those are your best 5 secondary players. And I think that that's who you have to have on the field for the majority of the snaps against Vandy, because Pride feels like the kind of player that Pavia is going to be able to realize is not on his A game and is not that great of a player, and can just expose him and attack him all game.
Yeah, that's the matchup most teams are going to target if you have him out there lined up one-on-one across from somebody, especially. I mean, Vandy doesn't really have a Cam Coleman, but like, that's who was matched up with Toriano Pride a lot, and Cam Coleman cooked Toriano Pride, but Cam Coleman also does that to a lot of people, but that's besides the point. Vandy doesn't really have the same type of playmakers at the wide receiver position.
They do have tight end.
And that's what I was going to say. Their tight ends, maybe the best tight end room in the nation, because they got Eli Stowers, and then, their other tight end, whose name is escaping me at the moment, but he had a very good game against LSU. I might be able to grab it here.
Cole Spencer.
Yes, Cole, very good player. And I kind of wonder what they're going to do with those guys, because that also feels like a Santana Banner matchup, because I think he's been your best cover safety, and you're going to need to cover those guys. Yeah.
Jalen Catalan as well. I mean, he hasn't gotten an interception this year, unless I'm forgetting one. And he had 5 interceptions at UNLV last year, and it feels like you brought him in to be a ball hawk, and he hasn't really showed that yet. So you'd like that from him. But those tight ends, that feels like a matchup that you have Khalil Jacobs, Josiah Trotter, Nicholas Rodriguez, if he can get back on track, and Tristan Newsome, because all of those guys have had their flashes this year. Rodriguez has had a few pretty down plays in that Auburn game, so I don't know how much they're going to be looking to him, but he was really good in coverage against South Carolina. So you have the linebackers, and on the offensive side of the ball, I thought we had a schematical advantage. On the defensive side, I think that we have the personnel advantage as well. And that's what makes me confident in this game, but I'm also a little bit wary of it because of that magical ability that I've talked about. But on paper and just logically we match up better than them at what they're good at. And I think that we are going to be able to play our game because they have Stowers and they have Cole Spencer and not the greatest wide receiver room. So if their wide receivers can't expose our weak secondary, then they're going to have to rely on their tight ends. And I think that our linebackers and our safeties are going to be able to stop their tight ends because that's where we're strong. And I think that we're going to be able to play contain. And I think that we're not going to let Diego extend plays and make longer plays because Khalil Jacobs is that good of a quarterback spy who we've mentioned in every single game where there's been a mobile quarterback, because Khalil Jacobs completely shuts down QB's ability to run the ball. Jackson Arnold, college has sacks thrown in there, but he had 17 rushing attempts for 14 yards. I mean, that is Khalil Jacobs. That is all Khalil Jacobs. A little bit of Josiah Trotter too. But that is what Khalil Jacobs has brought to this team this year. He completely shut down Jalen Daniels' ability to run. He completely shut down Lenore Sellers' ability to run. Ty Simpson, not really too much of a runner, but shut down his ability to run. And he shut down Jackson Arnold last week. So we are able to spy and keep quarterbacks in the pocket, and that is not what Pavia is good at.
Yeah, well, so obviously you're going to want to get pressure on him in this game because he's worse under pressure, as are most quarterbacks in college football.
Yeah.
But what you have to keep in mind is that if you're going too far up the arc and you don't have gap discipline and getting out of your rush lanes, he's going to make you pay, which is why the QB spy has to come into play, which is something that former Missouri Tigers defensive coordinator Blake Baker could not figure out against Vanderbilt.
He couldn't figure it out ever at Missouri either.
No, yeah, and that's very true. He struggles against mobile quarterbacks, but you know who doesn't is the Mizzou defense.
No.
They've gone up against Jalen Daniels, Lenore Sellers, two of maybe the best running quarterbacks in all of college football, and they shut them down. In fact, they shut down their running game altogether.
I mean, South Carolina had negative 10 yards rushing.
Yeah, negative 10. And that is all because of Khalil Jacobs, Josiah Trotter, this front seven, this defensive line, Zion Young.
And our defense played their butt off. You see Zion Young?
Damon Wilson. I mean,
know what time it is? It's time to go.
This is probably, Brayden, the best front seven that Vanderbilt will see this season. I don't know.
I mean, they see the Auburn front seven. I'd argue that Auburn's front seven might be better than.
Yeah, I could agree with that. But I mean, maybe just purely from the edge position, though, they might not see a better pass rushing tandem than Zion Young and Damon Wilson. And if those guys are getting in there, potentially creating turnovers, that's an area in which Missouri can come in and take over this game. If Vandy's offensive line cannot hold those guys in check, it's going to be.
But they might be able to, because Vandy's offensive line has been
really good. For sure.
It's been really good. Like Bryce Henderson is a dog.
Yeah, and one of their tackles, Isaiah Glass, he was a guy that Missouri actually went after in the portal and lost out to Vanderbilt. He's been very good this year. But I still think this is a matchup that I would pick Missouri to win on the field. And you need that to happen to beat them, because you just can't let Diego Pavia play his game.
Yeah. I think that, like, from a personnel standpoint, I think Mizzou has the advantage. From a identity going into this game and what's at play and what it means for these teams and where these two programs are at, because Mizzou's been in this position before. They've been in these bigger games that aren't the biggest, but they've been in these bigger games over the past few years, like against Tennessee, like against South Carolina last year, like against Oklahoma wasn't like this big last year, but they've been in this
for bragging rights.
Yeah. They've been in these games. They are more keen to it. And Vandy just had their first really, I mean, the Bama one was kind of like that, but it's Bama on, like, you're on the road at Bama. That's a nearly impossible place to win in. But you get that marquee win, beating the name on the chest against LSU last week. And you are riding higher than you ever have in your program's entire history. And like I said before, I think that plays to Missouri's advantage, even though I think that Clark Lee is a really good coach and is going to have those guys level-headed for the most part. The nature of the situation and the nature of college kids is going to be, they're going to be reading those headlines and buying into game day and feeding into it and just getting really excited that all the attention is on them. And Mizzou can come in, they can play the bad guy, and they can tear him to shreds.
Yeah, I just feel like Mizzou is the more grounded team heading into this game. And I think that's really going to benefit them. I think Drinkwitz playing the underdog card. Every good coach is going to do it. He's doing it. But I really love the mentality of this team going into this game. I do think it's going to help them. And I think, like you said, Drinkwitz is going to have them ready to play. I'm sure Clark Lee is going to have his guys ready to play as well. Sure. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a close game, I think. I would love to see Mizzou run away with it, but we don't really do that.
No.
We like playing close games. We start slow. Yeah, we start slow. We like playing close games down to the wire. But, yeah, that's just kind of what I see happening, not to give away my prediction. But, Brayden, is there anything else you wanted to hit on for this game that we didn't talk about before we get into our official predictions?
Not really. I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah. I also, one more note I'll add is I think we've kind of, and I think this has to do with some of the offenses we've gone up against. We've kind of allowed some bigger runs the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I think we get back.
Doesn't have a traditional running game.
No, but Cedric Alexander, their starting running back, is actually pretty good. I like him a lot. But I think this is the type of game where Mizzou gets back to really focusing on stopping the run, especially because they're going up against a primarily running quarterback. Not necessarily primary, but you get my point. Like Diego Pavia getting outside the pocket, that sort of thing. That's what they're going to try to do and make plays off of that. I think Mizzou's going to focus on shutting down the run, and they're going to force Pavia to throw and say, get the ball to your playmakers against this defense. Let's see if you can do it. And and then you're going to have to bank on that. And you're going to have to bank on your pass rush as well, getting to him while also having gap integrity. QB spy for sure. Don't pull Blake Baker. But that's the path to victory, I think. And, of course, playing your game on offense, winning time and possession, Ahmad Hardy getting back to his ways. That's the path to victory. I think most people get the gist. So, without further ado, Brayden, I think it is time for predictions. Mizzou at Vanderbilt. Brayden, we'll go with you first. What's your score prediction? Are you going to be wearing the gloomy glasses, or are you taking them off?
You see these, Josh?
Yeah.
You see these?
I see them. Oh, wow.
They're gone. The gloomy glasses are gone. Tigers 31-21.
Woo! Wow. Now, Brayden, without the gloomy glasses on, can you still see Zion Young?
And our defense play their butt off. You see Zion Young?
I did see Zion Young, and you know who I didn't see?
Who?
Toriano Pride. But I saw Zion Young, and I'm going to see Zion Young on Saturday at 3:15.
Look, I love the prediction. Unfortunately, Brayden, though, I have to balance it out by picking a Missouri win, just not as big a win. I think it'll be closer. I'm going to say Missouri 27, Vanderbilt 24. But we both got the Tigers winning. We both also had the Tigers winning last week, which is funny. If you get the joke.
Shut up.
But no, I seriously, I think Mizzou pulls out the win. I think this game means a lot more to them than it means to Vanderbilt. Like, Vanderbilt's obviously been a really good story, but like Eli Drinkwitz and this program are trying to get over the hump this year.
Clock strikes midnight at some point.
Yeah, and I think Vanderbilt, like, they have bright days ahead of them. I think Clark Lee's got the program in a good spot right now, but I think this is Mizzou's time. I think Eli Drinkwitz, he knows what's at stake this year for him, whether it's trying to get a big extension or trying to coach somewhere else, whatever that may be. That's obviously another discussion. But also, if you're talking about Eli Drinkwitz potentially getting a huge extension during the bye week, I think winning this game would help him a lot. Yeah, I think he has a lot on the line. So, yeah, give me the Tigers.
I agree.
All right. So, with that said, Brayden, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Guys, definitely let us know your score predictions down in the comments below, what your thoughts are on this game. Before we sign off, Brayden, latest movie recommendations for the audience.
I haven't got a chance to see any movies since I saw Roofman.
Could even be a show.
A show? That I feel like I did Peacemaker. I'll promote Shelby Oaks. It's a movie by Chris Stuckman, very famous movie reviewer, probably the biggest movie reviewer, who has always wanted to make a movie, and that's coming out. I need to find the time to see it. I might go see it tomorrow, but I want to support him and support that movie. So I'll shout that out, even though I haven't seen it yet. That would be my movie recommendation. Go support some indie horror movies because I'm pretty excited for it. And I'm excited to see what he brings to the big screen.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you mentioned that because like I've watched Chris Stuckman before. I think it's cool when someone like that, who's kind of come up in a unique way, is able to make their way into the film industry, make something on their own. And people always hate on indie films, but it's like, man, take Terrifier, for example. I mean, it started out as a small indie film with like zero budget. And now look where that's at because people went out and supported it and they got the bigger budget. So yeah, I had no plans of seeing it. Now I do because Brayden brought the recommendation to the show. And that's why we do this. But guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. So with all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe one more time so Mizzou fans can find this. You can check out my work on showmefootball.com. Check out the Twitter at showmefb. That's all we got for this one. We'll see you all in the next one. And as always, Brayden, MIZ.
ZOU.